pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands.
Mr. McClintock is excused, and Mr. Fafalia is somewhere in transit, we believe. So. And Mr. Nephew is excused. Thank you. Please join me in a moment of silence as we acknowledge Anthony J. D'Angelo, a former teacher in the North Syracuse Central School District, Helen Jo, oh boy, I'm going to mispronounce this, Loacono, a graduate of the district, Mary Pat Mentor, a graduate of the district, Dylan Cody Matties, attended schools in the district, Daniel G. Radler, a graduate of the district, DeVillo Bill Sloan Jr., a former teacher, principal, and director with the district, and James A. O'Reilly, a 1948 graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Thank you. Presentations. First item is Food Service Appreciation Week. I have a proclamation to read in regard to that. The North Syracuse Central School District food service staff have contributed to the health and educational development of our district's children by making nutritious breakfasts and lunches that help students improve grades, increase attention, reduce absence and tardy rates, and improve behavior. The food service staff continues to make positive changes in order to provide nutritional meals that meet the dietary guidelines for Americans and are a dedicated group of professionals. To honor the food service staff of the North Syracuse Central School District and their accomplishments, on behalf of the children who attend our schools, I, Michael Shoes, the President of the Board of Education of the North Syracuse Central School District, on behalf of the Board, express our deepest gratitude and proclaim the week of October 3rd through October 7th, 2016, as Food Service Appreciation Week to be celebrated with appropriate activities. Recommended Board action, proclaim the week of October 3rd through October 7th as Food Service Appreciation Week in the North Syracuse Central School District. Is there a motion to do so? Mike and Mary, all in favor?
Lori and Sharon are both here.
Pardon me?
We have two representatives of
Oh,
service.
where are they? I'm sorry. Come on up, come on up. Okay, federal grants presentations. Don, are you up and running?
Accounting presentations today.
Yes, I will.
Want to do the audit first?
No.
It'd be way easier.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier with you doing it. Nothing personal, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry. This one's a little easier, so we'll do this. All right, the title grants were due in August, and so this year's presentation shows you what we shows us a historical perspective as to our Title I schools. This year, for the first time ever, we have 7 that are now Title I schools. And what qualifies them for being Title I is free and reduced lunches, which I would argue that we have more than these schools, but unfortunately, unless kids say that they need free and reduced lunch, they don't get counted in. So for the first time ever, we have 2 joining, which would be Allen Road and Main Street. So you can see that as time has gone on, pretty much it's remained either steady for people or they've gone up. A few have gone down a little bit, but overall still in the Title I allocation. So have to be over 30%. And we have two that are teetering that will probably be joining us next year. My prediction. And along with this, you also have the two private schools that we cover that are also included in this. So 9 schools altogether that have to be supervised for Title I money. Along with this, this just gives you an idea that Title I covers and helps to offset the general fund balance with providing the support or funding our AIS providers. And you can see how many we have in each building that we have been able to put into the federal grants that help offset the general fund codes. And so with this, on the next slide, are the professional salaries that go into Title I expenditures. So the professional salaries of all the AIS staff on the previous slide, along with purchase services, and that would be things that we do as far as our things like you've heard us say RI and MI, which is the reading inventory and the math inventory, and those are the ones that we screen kids qualify for AIS services. It covers System 44. It covers RTI, response to intervention material, out tiers, level literacy intervention kits, anything that we use to help increase academic efforts. So that would be what is purchased under purchase services. Supplies and materials, purchase services, the difference between them, supplies and materials in them, but consultant comes out and gives us training. Once they have the training, sometimes we'll have somebody come back out and support them on how to input scores into the system and make sure we're checking and supplying the kids with the best instruction possible. And then obviously benefits go along with the professional salaries, and then the indirect costs that go along with that. So, in dollars there, that's what our allocation was for 2016-17. Along with that, we have the transferability option, which is you are allowed to take certain amount from Title IIA and move it into Title I to offset professional costs, which we have done. So we took some of the money out of Title IIA, which is usually your professional development. We took some of that to cover AIS providers' salaries, and so you have to declare that when you're writing the grant. That option again this year. Also mandates in that are that we support the homeless mandatory transportation for homeless students. So we offset that and set aside a percentage of 5% of the grant. And then there's also homeless support. So if they need any counseling, we offset that as well with the title grant. Those are mandatory. And parent involvement is mandatory. You have to set aside 1% of the title grant to go to educate parents in this process and educate parents in supporting their students at home. So in that, knowing that there are 9 schools that have to share that 1%. And so schools are now drawing up a proposal for how they would like to do that within their schools, and we'll review. Started on that process as well. So title grants go for covering a lot of what we do, all of the programs that you can see listed in this slide above. These are a lot of the initiatives and the instructional supports that we offer students, and we're very fortunate to have these funds to offset that cost, because without this funding, we would have difficulty coming up with the teachers with materials that go along with all of these programs because a lot of them are renewable each year. So, for instance, Handwriting Without Tears, they're workbooks that to work through. You have to purchase those yearly. There's also technology components that funnel a lot of that through the title money. And then, of course, the private schools, both private schools are in my calendar as well, and I visit with them, and they also share in the funding of Title II-A monies as well as Title I money. So Title II-A, as I said, is your professional development, and it also goes along with funding 10% of Alicia Pizzuto's, 10% of my salary because I'm the program director, and 100% of Alicia Pizzuto's salary. So it, again, takes the burden off of the general fund and puts it into the grant. Fortunate for that. And this also included in here would be extra pay when teachers do extra work after school, or even during the school day, we are able to take the substitute costs out of this fund. And these are federal grants that have to be spent. If they are not spent, then they are lost. So it's always advantageous to us, obviously, to maximize them. And we do quite well. Do you have any questions?
So the parent involvement?
No, we've had it every year, but every year they have to write a proposal for how they plan to involve parents, and so
Dawn, I have a question. So how do you determine how much of the grant money is spent at each school? Is that strictly based on the percentage of free and reduced lunch?
we do not. So what we do is we fund, most of it goes to salaries. And then what we do is talk to each school about what are their needs for getting, and I work with the AIS providers all the time, but I also work with the principals. So for instance, I met with Main Street today, and we talked about that. It's not by kid. The privates are, so they have to declare who would have gone to our buildings, and then we allocate so much back to them, and then they spend how they spend. But with ours, it's just a pool of money, and we just try to make sure that the AIS providers have what they need, but also with the classroom teachers. So you saw the list of all the initiatives we have. We just make sure that those are all being supplied to all of ours, because truly most of our schools have those students. We all are needing money and funding.
Other questions for Don? Thank you, Don. Appreciate it. Next item, individuals wishing to address the Board of Education. Connie, I have nothing, no names here. Okay, so we have nobody for that. 4A, Board Committee Reports and Comments. Policy Committee, Mary?
The Policy Committee met last Monday, and we had a good turnout for our first meeting. We're very excited to get started for the year. We had 5 policies that we reviewed, and a couple we sent back and we tabled for the next meeting because they require further review. We have 3 that are on our agenda tonight. One is a brand new policy, and as procedure, it's just up for initial reading, and I would like Don to speak to it a little bit.
Want me to do it now, or should we wait till we get to the...
No, do it right now, and
okay,
that
good.
way we'll get over
Sure.
it faster, yeah.
Sure. It's very important when people buy our bonds that we follow very rigid procedures to ensure that when we raise debt or sell bonds, that those bonds can maintain their tax-exempt status. And so this new policy recommended by BS&K and fiscal advisors will allow us to make sure the board has stated clearly the policies and procedures that need to be followed post the issuance of any type of securitized debt like a bond offering.
Thanks, Don. Liz, legislative.
Yes, we met the 14th, and we have decided for the Legislative Committee, our focus this year will be primarily the changes to follow this to the school aid formula. We also discussed increasing connections with elected officials, the tax cap implications, and increasing our voter participation. And our next meeting is October 27th at 5:30.
Thank you. Anything else? Board comments? Anything?
I just want to, yeah, last week I was able to go to the Lakeshore Back to School barbecue. They had a fantastic turnout. We had people parking on Lakeshore, which probably isn't the safest thing, but it just goes to show the enthusiasm that the staff and students had. I had a chance to talk to Mr. Matola, and he's doing very well over at Lakeshore to start off the year. And I was walking around, and the students were going around saying, "Hey, Mr. Matola, how are you?" So really making a connection with the students. So it's just really good to see that. They had a beautiful day. PTO was really involved with the food and everything, and overall, everyone in attendance was just really eager to get going with school. So.
Super. Good start. Superintendent's comments, and that?
Just a couple things. Congratulations to the folks that we honored earlier this evening before the board meeting who received tenure. We had several teachers and also a principal, Mr. Stone, so congratulations to them. And I just really feel as though I want to kind of mention the football game Friday night, and not just the fact that our football team is undefeated and we're off to an awesome start, which we're really pleased to see. But also, I think it's worth noting the number of students that were there. It was homecoming. The stands were packed with students. And the thing, as I was standing out there for a while in front of the student section, that really, really impressed me is how well behaved and how much fun they were having. They've got quite a student leader group in terms of school spirit this year, and kids were well behaved and just having good old-fashioned fun. And so very pleased with that. So kudos to the students and as well as the administration at the high school.
Thank you, Annette. Moving to item 5, routine action items, 5A, the consideration of approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Education, September 12. B, consideration of classification and placement of preschool disabled students certified by the District Committee on Preschool Education, Preschool Special Education for 9/13/16. C, consideration of classification and placement of students in the home instruction programs as recommended by the Home Instruction Review Committee for August 5, September 8, 12, 14, and 16, 2016. And D, acknowledgement of the business office reports for June 2016. I'll entertain a motion to take 5A, B, C, D as a group. Mr. Harrington, Ms. Cash, all in favor? 7-0. 6A, acceptance of the 2015-16 independent audit report. So, Mr. Keegan, introductions?
I'm going to turn it over to Mike, the partner at Grossman St. Amour, and Jamie, the manager, who worked in our engagement. And you guys can just hit the PowerPoint icon on there, and you should be, your presentation should be there. And maybe just put it in slideshow mode. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks everyone. Next to me is Jamie Galante, as Don mentioned to you. I'm the partner in charge of your engagement. I've been with you guys for a number of years now. Both myself and Jamie worked on your account. Just want to say, we only have a couple slides, just everything went extremely well this year. Another smooth year. We met with the audit committee last week. Jamie and my manager Mark went through everything in great detail. As you know, the financial statements that are included in your packages are fairly long-winded, and as I know, there's quite a few pages of great information in there, and we looked at all that, but Don and his team, Vince, and the whole team, excellent job. So our first slide is really just some of our executive summary, some of the items we covered. As I mentioned, we have a clean audit opinion on your financial statements. That's called an unmodified audit opinion. That's a positive thing for the district. That's consistent with the past years. What that basically means that we didn't find any significant issues, problems with the audited financials. Fairly presented. Excellent. As I mentioned, the financial statements are over 50 pages long, so there's quite a bit of information you have to, look at and, certify to, and Don and his team does a great. The next little section is governance communications. This is required by our professional standards. Certain Anything of significance here, this would be a longer discussion, but most of this is just our basic saying auditor's responsibilities is really the only thing of those financial statements we own are the first 3 pages. I mean, get past the cover page. The audit opinion is really the only thing we own in those financial statements. That's our responsibility to give you an opinion on those financial statements. Really just definition there, audit opinion. Financial responsibilities is you as the governance, the Board of Education has the responsibilities for operations of the school district. Really have the management responsibility. No difficulties, no change in accounting policies or principles this year. Nothing really of significance to talk about. It's a pretty, quiet year. In the past years, we had pension obligations and some new stuff last year. This year was a pretty quiet year per se from an accounting and compliance standpoint. So we also have a couple recommendations to management, which I call probably more routine in nature. Nothing of significance here. Technically, we call these as no material weaknesses, internal controls, which is excellent. Material weakness, internal controls is not really where you want to be. You're nowhere near that. So you had a couple, recommendations that Don and Vince are going to help. We're going to help implement some, little change stuff on accounting some fixed assets and long-term type liabilities, which is other school districts we see. So nothing to be of significant. Last but not least, our last slide is, as I mentioned, we do the audit of the financial statements, which is one big portion of the audit we do, but we also have 2 other financial statements to do audit work on. As the young lady talked about earlier with the Title I, this area called single audit, federal awards, we also do a compliance audit on your federal awards. We didn't audit Title I this year, but we've audited almost every other year given the size. So next year would be, in scope, and it's, just the way it kind of works out. This year was the child nutrition cluster. We have a couple different clusters of stuff, so easy stuff. From our standpoint, compliance, very similar to the audited financial statements, no material compliance issues. Those compliance type of items we test for are really driven from the federal government down to New York State Education Department, down to you guys. So it's actually, that's very good to have no compliance issues, because if we find something wrong in your compliance, second we issue this report, you accept it tonight, the state will be asking for the money back, whatever numbers in there. That happened. So that's actually excellent. So not to lose out in grant opportunities. Compliance regulations are getting more and more difficult, and you guys have done an excellent job of adapting to the newer rules that have just come out, what they call uniform guidance, as we talked about last year. So you did an excellent job adopting those and everybody following the rules as best as we could see. The last area was extra classroom activities. That's our 3rd set of financial statements to do audit work on. This is actually what we call an unmodified opinion for everything except for cash receipts. That's passed. It doesn't mean it's anything bad. Unmodified in everything else but, cash receipts means basically for cash receipts is that we can't do enough work without spending probably a fortunate amount of time, to get a clean audit opinion we call cash receipts. Almost all our school districts, actually all our school districts, I don't know any of mine that we give a clean audit opinion there. That's the reason behind this is because of the completeness of cash receipts. Not a problem, fully acceptable, very standard. We've done this in the past for you. It hasn't changed our conclusion. It's just when you got students running clubs and stuff, it's very difficult to make sure everything's complete. We do a lot of work and testing, so and the cash receipts and disbursements, but at the end of the day, we have to give you that modified opinion on that. So no really internal control weaknesses or anything we saw. So even though we give you a modified opinion there, everything still worked out extremely well, following the policy procedures that the schools put in. Overall, Jamie, want to say anything real quick?
Well, ECA is for the size of the district, it is one of the best run programs in so many folks. Overall, it was a great year. Fastest, I think, that we've turned down, so the team did a great
job. Off everyone.
I think it speaks well of Don and the operation of that business office. So,
Truth be told, Vince Love, our treasurer, did all the heavy lifting.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, okay.
So
a good job by Don and the group. Yeah. So, thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Good.
Thank you. Good news. B, 6B, the acknowledgement of a gift, and 6C, the recommendation to reinstate the position go together. So 6B, I'm sorry. Oh, that might not, that might be a good idea, Connie, before we skip through that. Yeah, the resolution. It says, the administration recommends the board accept the following resolution. Resolved that the North Syracuse Central School District Board of Education approves the 2015-16 audit by Grossman St. Amour Certified Public Accountants, LLC. A motion to do so. Mr. Maurizio, Ms. Cash, all in favor? Okay, there we go, 7-0. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, Connie. Okay, 6B, the acknowledgement of the gift from the North Syracuse Education Foundation, $956 to reinstate the North Syracuse High School Math League advisor for the 2016-17 school year. And B is the motion to actually reinstate that Math League advisor for this year due to the donation. So I'll take a motion for 6B and 6C together. Mr. Leon, Ms. Owens, all in favor? Carried. Textbook approval is D. This is actually, am I reading this correctly, Don? It's just one here? Okay. What color is your parachute? You're never going to see me with a parachute on, but that's another point. Is there a motion to approve the textbook? George Harrington, Ms. Scanlon, all in favor? Okay. E is a recommendation, excuse me, to add a 1.0 FTE school bus attendant. F is a resolution authorizing the settlement in the Wide Waters Route 11 Associates LLC tax issue matter. Don, did you want to make a comment on either one of those, the bus attendant or the thanks, Mike, or the settlement?
The bus attendant was required. We had a new student move into the district that required an attendant to be with that student on the bus. So
Okay.
that's a pretty routine item. The settlement, we were very fortunate. This was a piece of land that was significantly overvalued, and a very amiable settlement was put in place so that the property would be more fairly valued, and the impact on the district was appropriate and endorsed by our attorneys.
Thanks. Because F is a roll call, we're going to take E first, recommendation to add the school bus attendant. Is there a motion? Ms. Scanlon, Ms. Owens, all in favor? Carried. F, the resolution to authorize the settlement commenced by Wide Waters Route 11 Associates, LLC, in accordance with the terms set forth, et cetera, approved by Ferrara Fiorenza PC. So is there a motion to approve that resolution accepting that? Mr. Harrington, Ms. Scanlon. Connie? Yes.
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 Carried. Thank you. The next three are the policies that Mary talked about earlier. Policy 6170, the post-issuance compliance that Don commented on. H, child abuse prevention and reporting, amendment and readoption. And I, selection of materials for library media centers readoption. Mary, anything else on those, or no? Would you like to make the motion to approve those three? Okay, second, Mr. Harrington, all in favor? Carried. 7A, instructional personnel. Any retirements, am I correct? Okay. So any questions on the instructional personnel A? And then support staff B? Any questions or comments? Okay, how about a motion then for A and B personnel? Mr. Leon, Ms. Owens, all in favor? Carried. At this point, we have a motion for executive session for the purpose of receiving an update on negotiations with the North Syracuse Education Association, to receive an update on 4 legal matters relative to potential litigation, and to review the employment history of 6 individuals with no action to follow. Is there a motion for executive session? Ms. Owens, Ms. Cash, all in favor? Okay, we're in executive session.